All right, hey guys, it's Tokenicer here, back today for another interview with you guys. Today we've got a really special guest. We've got Martin Hiesboeck.
Oh, thanks for having me.
How are you doing?
I am good. I had an exhausting day organizing stuff in my garage and killing a rat. So I missed the whole Bitcoin run.
Yeah, sometimes that's how it is, right? You get so caught up in your day and then you take a look at the market. Like,
yeah, I'm always free
happened?
when nothing happens in the market.
Yeah. But do you want to just go over what you've been up to lately? I know you're working on your own startup, Natura, right?
That's my charity, yes. Well,
so it's a charity. Okay, sorry.
I've been a consultant in the whole blockchain technology space for a long time. I was in blockchain stuff long before I got into the whole cryptocurrency thing. So way before Ethereum. In 2012, 2013, I was at my first blockchain as a way of tracing origin of goods, like food tracing and then insurance. And I was like sort of envisioning what blockchain could do for different aspects of society and the economy. And that got me, excuse me.
Oh, no, sorry. I was just saying, so that you've probably seen some of the utility that this space can bring way before everyone else then, hey?
Yeah, I'm really in it for the technology. You know, I had at the first conference that I ever spoke at, the organizers told me, thanks for talking, but we really don't have any funds to pay you a speaking fee. But we have some Bitcoin. We just give you some Bitcoin and you sell them quickly because it's going nowhere. And they gave me 100 Bitcoin in 2013, and I sort of forgot about them for a while.
You still have them?
I really, of course I do, and many more, but as one does, you know, I'm not a trader, you know, I don't care about charts. I find the whole charting thing and the day trading thing extremely boring. But I find the applications and the utility and the things we can do with blockchain technology far more interesting. The fact that it's now mainly a discussion revolving around finance is finance is sort of the least interesting bit about blockchain.
What would be your favorite space of it, or favorite aspect of blockchain?
You know, as much as I dislike the discussion around Cardano and ADA, for example, because it's turning into a very, I would say vicious, a very problematic discussion, because they have a visionary founder who is sort of not bringing across the point. But what Cardano started out at, and what Cardano is, for example, is on a mission to change the world. And that's not something the investors are interested in. So that's why ADA is going nowhere, right?
Yeah,
and then you have, and that's, and then you have the wonder of NFTs, right? Which can be used for absolutely anything. Anything you can own in the physical world can be an NFT. Your birth certificate, your passport, your death certificate, your land deed, your piece of art, anything. It's just a way of establishing ownership in the blockchain economy. And the applications of NFTs, from voting systems to health records to, I mean, the list is exhaustive. You just never get to the end of it. And yet, it got famous because of this Bored Ape Yacht Club shit. You know, it's really frustrating that we have a discussion about Andreessen Horowitz getting into Bored Ape Yacht Club with two guys in Florida drawing the most monstrous pictures of monkeys, and completely distracting from the real value of crypto and blockchain. So deep down, I'm I'm very serious about the business in a way that doesn't make much money through trading, right? If you want to get rich, then please don't listen to me. I'm really in it for what it can do, and this is why technologies interest me. So about a year or so ago, I used to live in Taiwan for a long time, and I worked with a lot of semiconductor companies. And then the mining thing happened, and people designed chips for the mining industry, for Bitcoin mining. And then I was close with the NVIDIA C-suite. And at that time, NVIDIA made graphic cards for games, period, right? And now they're one of the strongest stocks out there. And even though to this day they deny that they don't have anything to do with Bitcoin mining, right? They don't want to be associated with it. Which is like everybody knows, but you keep not mentioning it. Like even
now, why do you think that is?
There's a real reason and a false reason. You know, the false reason is that many people say they're afraid it will hurt their image, but it really has nothing to do with image. NVIDIA is focused on the chips, right? On the technology. And it doesn't want its chips to be seen as limited to a specific purpose, because that would open it to attacks from a specific corner of the economy. Like, for example, if they came out and say, yes, we do Bitcoin mining chips, then you would have the entire green left and right now the Democrats saying, oh, proof of work blockchains destroy the environment. And then you get, you know, analysts downgrading the stock because NVIDIA is harmful to the environment, which is complete nonsense, but it would open up the image of a semiconductor company to attacks from all the wrong sides. And the next thing that they don't want to get into it is, it surprised me that Intel just like 2 weeks ago came out and saying, yeah, we're doing this ASIC miner. It really surprised me for a company like Intel to say that and do that. It's kind of a weird thing because they don't make the miner, right? If I'm a company that makes mining hardware, then I'm in the mining business, yes. But Intel doesn't make mining hardware. It makes a chip. And you can use that chip for any sort of things. So you don't have to associate yourself with a contentious and slightly problematic industry as it is still perceived. I mean, if you look at the European Union, you have the green left actually proposing legislation in the European Parliament that would prohibit European companies from dealing in Bitcoin and owning Bitcoin because proof of work blockchains harm the environment. That's how ridiculously stupid the argument has become on the political left.
No, I completely agree. Like the whole controversy over the ESG thing, like if you really look at how much energy, let's say Bitcoin or Ethereum is using versus, let's say, the whole banking system, it doesn't even compare, right?
It doesn't compare, and neither do the CO2 emissions. I probably have more emissions in my daily flights than Bitcoin does in a year, you know?
Yeah.
And the distribution of fiat currency to millions of ATMs, you know?
Oh, yeah.
There's truckloads of dollar bills going and euro bills going around the world being stuck into machines that cost money to manufacture, made with precious metals and chips, and nobody considers that. They just see Bitcoin as bad for the environment.
Absolutely. The money printer doesn't sleep, right?
Yeah, it's a very Luddite attack on Bitcoin.
It is, yeah.
There's so much misinformation. And
at this point, they're just kind of looking for whatever to like negative they can say about it, right?
Yeah, in a way. And it's and then they don't do it because they didn't buy Bitcoin and feel left out. They don't do it because they missed the boat or something. That's an attack that they always say, okay, you didn't buy Bitcoin, so now you're against it. That's not the truth either. It's that they really believe that many people believe that the whole crypto stuff is a get rich quick scheme, detrimental to the environment and society at large. It's a political conviction, right? And that's the dangerous thing. Whenever you have belief in something, then you destroy the objective arguments around it.
Totally.
It's one of the reasons, right? That's one of the reasons why crypto Twitter is so full of crap. Because you got all these communities and armies and families who are turning their own coin into a cult. I mean, have you ever tried offending an XRP fan on Twitter? It's like a death sentence, right?
Yeah, your inbox isn't going to stop hearing about that for the next couple days.
Oh God, I've been invited to so many expert forums and telegrams and stuff for a specific coin. And then I try to present some kind of objective argument, of balanced argument of the pros and cons, and whoa, I was gone like in an instant. It just threw me out. Oh, he said something negative and critical about our holy coin. That's a sad thing about crypto. It's a bit amusing if you're above things, right? But I see the real danger of crypto in the fact that we have very, very greedy exchanges and wallets trying to get the most profit, like advertising 10x, 100x leverage and stuff. And what they don't realize is that for someone who lives in the West, in America, for someone middle class or even on a basic income in these countries, for us losing $10, it's okay. You have a latte less, right?
Yeah.
But I was involved in a project sponsored by the Bank of India that examined the impact of widespread crypto adoption in India. And just think about this. More than 2/3 of Indian crypto accounts are under $100, which equals about 6 months of income for many of these people.
Holy shit.
You know, these are people who cannot afford the gas fee for a trade.
Yeah.
Right? So the discrepancy between rich and poor countries is enormous, and people in the West people in rich countries generally do not understand that. I've lived in the poorest countries. I've lived amongst homeless people in Taiwan just to get an idea of what it feels like. I've been to like half of Malaysia and Indonesia looking at people, eking out a living like from the earth and from fishing and stuff, for whom I gave a friend in the Philippines $800 to open up a tea shop, which now makes enough money for a family of 6.
Damn, massive respect for that, man.
But from my perspective, it doesn't even register. For me, giving away $600, it doesn't even register, right? I'm lucky enough to have had good jobs and a good education and lived in a wealthy country. But with just this tiny amount, I made a huge difference in a family's life in the Philippines. And I'm doing this all the time because giving something to charity is like it goes into a black hole and you never know what's done with that. But now with crypto, we have, what was the statistic this week that came out from the analysis? Bitcoin, crypto donations grew like 500% or something last year.
Oh yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Crypto is creating not super rich assholes like the press would have us believe. It is creating a middle class that is stronger and wealthier and has more common sense about what we should do with the world and how we can make the world more equal. And this is the argument that is completely drowned out by the noise around mining discussions and crypto fraud and rug pulls and all the negative elements around crypto are blown up by the press and they enter people's minds and distort the real value and the real image of crypto.
100%, man. I mean, just because like this space is still seen as like so speculative, there's like that whole stigma around it. So pretty much they just kind of try and find anything negative they can say about it, right? Just to justify that, like their belief.
And it's misinformation, right? I started this charity called Natura. And the whole idea behind this is, I know about NFTs, I know about what the blockchain can do, I know NFTs are a valid documentation of your ownership. It does away with stealing photographs and videos and stuff. So I think of it as a new form in the economy to make more people rich through their art, through their commitment to society, and in my case with this charity, to wildlife. And then I talk to wildlife conservationists and they tell me, oh my God, no, not crypto, it's going to destroy the planet and we can't have anything to do with that. And so in all these aspects, with art, with photography, with anything, you have two camps, like the Luddite old-fashioned camp that is afraid. I had this really famous ex-Nat Geo photographer in Malaysia. I asked him if he was interested to join my project and he wrote back, if you ever mention the word NFT to me again, I'm just gonna unfriend you.
Jesus. Wow.
You say, and I said, do you realize that with your photography, your talent, your access to Malaysian wildlife and your ethics, you could collect, I didn't even say earn, right? Because he's not interested in money. And many people are not interested in making money, right? As hard as this sounds to an American audience, right? There are lots of swathes of population in the world who don't give a fuck about dollars and being rich, right? This is an American thing, this instant wealth accumulation.
No, definitely. Like wealth is relative to like what you value, right?
Yes. I have this especially in Europe, the main difference that in Europe you have this large amount of communities we are here for the fun, for the appreciation of nature. Of course, there's greed and wealth and banks and everything in Europe, but it's much less of a greedy, at least on the outside society, than America is. Yet America decides where we are going, and American opinions dictate where crypto goes, right? So the influence is outsized, and it drowns out all the goodwill and the good-natured elements. I started Natura.io as a way to bring together wildlife photographers and conservation causes with venture capital and Wall Street funds. And so that was the idea, just as a hub, just as a marketplace. And I thought, I'm going to have lots of interest, especially from America, because they're more into crypto and stuff. The most interest I got at the beginning, when I sort of just tried out the concept with a number of people, the largest interest came from India and Africa. Like a guy in Nigeria who photographs, what do they call antelopes, and from the Botswanan rhinoceros wildlife photographer group. The people who told me they need funding to keep their animals safe. How do we fund that? As of course, we fund it by your photography, and we sell the NFT, and like 80% of the money we make from the NFT goes to your conservation project. And we started a trial with that, and they basically had the entire upkeep of one of the parks there earned in about a month.
Wow.
So there's in NFTs, it's not about fucking bored apes, right? It's about or pixelated zombies or whatever is the latest phrase. It's about making the world a better place and helping people through decentralized finance, through all the wonderful innovations the blockchain can bring, helping the world more equal and more just and more equitable in every aspect.
For sure. Yeah. Just like I'm a big fan of the whole economic inclusion thing of like just tokenization and the whole like the thing with crypto is that unlike I guess, legacy markets, anyone can be given an equal opportunity to participate, right? Like, say if you want to buy Amazon stock, you got to have $3,000 to even start. Whereas here, you can start with like as little as $5 or even 5 yen.
It's this exact aspect that frightens governments and regulators and banks, right?
For sure, yeah.
People still, by and large, most people don't understand the ultimate outcome of this Bitcoin revolution.
Definitely, yeah.
And it's harsh, it's brutal, it's a definitive end to many of the economic concepts that we are so used to. Like, I had one of the most insightful conversations I had last year was when I was invited by a European central bank, not the ECB, but one national bank in Europe. And
still huge.
I was invited to give a talk about central bank digital currencies, right? And how do we get one? Should we have one? What do we call it? Stuff. And then I explained the whole concept and everything associated with it. And the director of the bank, he was very, very insightful. He didn't know anything about blockchain or crypto or anything. But he said at the end of my presentation, he just went, if I understand you correctly, what you are saying is that digital currencies will make us irrelevant. And I looked at him and I said, yes, not to put too fine a point on it. That's exactly what they will do. The central bank sets interest rates and it manages the banking system. The distribution of fiat currencies.
Yep.
If I don't have a fiat currency, if I don't need to go to a bank for a loan, I don't need to go to a bank to have a savings account. I don't need to go to a bank to have my salary transferred there. Why do I go to a bank? So why does a bank exist? If a bank doesn't exist, then why does a central bank exist?
Very good point.
One thing in the thought process, like one thing leads to another, and people are so convinced that CBDCs are so important and they're going to change the world. Actually, they are kind of a problem because central banks don't want central bank digital currencies. The only governments that have immediately embraced them are totalitarian regimes like Myanmar and China. And for them, they are a tool of oppression and supervision of the populace, and not a fair option to somehow increase the value in the economy.
Yeah, definitely. So what makes you say that central banks wouldn't want a central bank digital currency though?
Because they control the fiat, right?
That's true. But
if you take a banknote, what gives value to that banknote? Think about it. Why hold up a $10 bill and tell me why this $10 bill is worth $10?
Well, because the government says so, right? That's about it.
Exactly. There's a signature on it. The government says so.
Yeah.
So the currency falls and rises with the government.
Exactly. There's only an extrinsic value to it. There's no intrinsic value to that $10
Therefore,
slip of paper.
it is backed by power, right? So it is backed by a central power.
All right. Yeah.
The entire crypto movement, the entire idea of decentralized finance is the opposite of centralized power. So you go to the central bank and say, oh, we're going to have these DeFi options on Aave where you can like loan and borrow stable coin. You say, what the fuck? I mean, this is our remit. We decide who borrows what and where you can buy your treasuries, right? You're taking away all the power from you. And then we especially with CBDCs, the central banks realized, okay, if we have a CBDC and all the money that we issue is not printed anymore, but it just exists in electronic form, then we don't need the banks anymore. So all we have left to do is set an interest rate, and that sort of needs like 2 or 3 people and not a whole bank.
Those were some really good points. Like that really brought to me attention to like just really the overall power of decentralized finance. Like I always knew what it could do for, like economic wise, but when you put it that way, it really
I mean,
opens.
just think about. I actually did this exercise. I went early in 2020 when my whole engagement with the banking system on crypto started. I went to a bank and I wrote down all the things that I can do at a bank. And then I went back and saw that all of these things I can do with decentralized apps and dApps. And if I educate myself, if I learn about decentralized finance, I can do all that myself. I don't need an overpaid banker sitting at an old-fashioned desk telling me that you must buy our mutual fund. It's been going up for 10 years and we only charge 5% fees. I mean, sorry, I'm not paying 5% fees so like you can take 300 euros off my monthly salary. The only party getting rich from that is the bank, right? So exactly, almost everything banks do is designed to make the bank richer.
Well, yeah, at the end of the day, it's a business, right? Like our money in the savings account isn't actually just sitting in there. The banks are lending it out and doing whatever.
If I would keep my wealth at a local bank in fiat, I would have to pay the bank to look after my money. Are you fucking kidding me? I'm not going to pay you to look after my money.
Yeah,
I can do that on my own. Thank you very much.
Exactly.
I know how to look after money.
Even when it's sitting in there with all the money printing we did, it's like you're losing 6-7% to inflation just for having your money, quote unquote, safely in a bank account.
And look at, I can't remember the statistics exactly, but the United States has printed more money in the last 10 years than in the last 100 years. It was
that was
a ridiculous figure.
In the past 2 years, I think it was 40% of the total M1 supply was printed.
Yeah. I mean,
that's ridiculous. Like
I had this.
Sorry. I was just gonna say these next few years, like in the US, inflation's really gonna be hitting, and like a lot of people aren't gonna be ready for it. Like it's gonna get ugly, I think.
The problem with the whole thing is that ultimately, since money is linked to power, and power lies, I mean, believe it or not, it lies with the United States because they won the war, and they are the economic powerhouse. As much as you can dislike them as much as you want, America still calls the shots.
Fair point.
And will for a long time, because ultimately its power is linked to dominance, is linked to military might, and we have a war breaking out in Ukraine, and all the European countries are like, oh yeah, we're gonna send some helmets. Have some helmets, please. That's not military power, that's not commitment. And like Austria and Sweden are like, oh, we are neutral, we are committed to neutrality. Okay, no, it's all bullshit. It's always the Americans who step in and put feet on the ground and save the day. I'm not a fan of American power in the world, but that's the way it is, right?
No, 100%, yeah.
And that gives you the right to talk about oil and to talk about money. And so there are vested interests, there's a power game going on, and all that is threatened by crypto. Crypto and blockchain is not a novel form of money. It's a threat to everything you know about economics and economic behavior. And it touches every single aspect. I'm working on a project with a hospital here in Austria. It started with some basic education on blockchain and why a health record is best kept on a blockchain as an immutable record. Why it can be an NFT that I can take along with me that belongs to me. I mean, have you ever been in a medical situation where you had to transfer from one medical entity to another? And then they go like, oh, is that your first time here? Oh, please fill in this like 20-page form because you haven't been a client of us here. So we know nothing about you. No, it's my body, it's my health. I should have an entry on the blockchain that I could just give you through a smart contract, and then you know everything you need to know. No, I'm sorry. It's just, this is your first visit to the whatever clinic, so you have to go through all the X-rays and all the CT scans and all the whatever again.
No,
when I
100%.
when I moved from Asia to back to Austria 2 years ago, I reactivated my European health insurance, and they just basically told me, "Oh, you have to do all the tests. Please go to the hospital and make all the tests because we cannot read Chinese." It's ridiculous. We live in a world of global travelers, and nothing works as soon as you cross the border. Right? You go. I live like 60 kilometers from the Hungarian borders. From the Hungarian border, I went to the dentist there, and the doctor says, "Oh, we have to do an X-ray, and I need to know your mother's maiden name because the Hungarian law requires that." So on the one hand, we have total and utter globalization and technical solutions to everything. On the other hand, we have nation states and nation governments who feel so threatened by the whole thing that some countries feel obliged to just ban everything, right?
Totally, yeah.
The first knee-jerk reaction of India was, we ban all the crypto must be banned. Yes, we cannot have crypto. We will destroy our Indian economy. And the Chinese said, "Oh, that's a great idea. Let's turn it into a surveillance project so we can just check what every Chinese citizen spends anywhere, and then we can arrest them for buying some, I don't know, illicit books about capitalism."
I know.
It is not about Bitcoin and the worth of Bitcoin, and it's not about Bitcoin versus Ethereum. It is about what it's always been. It's about the individual versus the state, right? And it's a philosophical problem, is what crypto is, and that is like so far above most investors' horizon, right? They care about, oh, the Doge is gonna go to the moon, right? So I have like 1 million followers because I believe in Elon Musk and all that. I'm sorry, I'm rambling.
No. It's all cool, man. Like, all that makes perfect sense, and it's relevant. Like, the whole crypto economy is beyond just like it's not just cryptocurrencies anymore, right? They're all digital assets. They're giving powers back to the community and they're dispersing power across the entire world too, and just even bringing the digitization of the whole world and breaking down like physical borders.
Yeah, it gives power back to the individual, and a centralized government, and especially an authoritarian government, fears nothing more, or even a rich upper class, right, fears nothing more than power to the individual. It feels a little bit like the, I don't know, 17th century British discussion about whether to give everyone the right to vote. And there were whole books written about how ridiculous it was. The idea was to give people who didn't own land a vote, because if you don't own land, you can't do anything productive, right? You're just a worker. Why should you have a say in the future of the nation? And from our perspective now, this whole discussion, which occupied Britain, England at that time for decades, right? From our perspective now, it seems completely ridiculous. And I think in 30, 40 years, we're going to look back at this nascent age of cryptocurrencies and go like, what the fuck was that all about?
No, absolutely. And like, that can be said the same about the internet, right? Like, back then people were like absolutely not trusting emails and just thinking like everything on the internet would be a scam. It's like just innovative technology and just like disruptive decisions. They bring controversy because people are so fearful of change, whether it be good or bad change. Like, humans don't like change, right? Once you get comfortable, you want to stay in that place.
I mean, there's this famous, I don't know if it's true or not, it might be apocryphal, but there's this famous Paul Krugman quote from someone in 1992, someone where he says that in 10 years nobody's going to remember the internet. So it will have just been a passing fad. Right?
Yeah, no, I think I've read something. Yeah, it was like,
I don't know if it's a meme or if he really said this somewhere, but it's not entirely possible for someone like Krug to say that. Right?
oh yeah, no, but I was just saying, like, I wasn't born yet during the birth of the internet, but just like looking back, I've read some of the things that people were saying and some of the, I guess nowadays you would say FUD that was going on during like the birth of the internet, just because people weren't sure what it is. Like, it's something at the time like so new that didn't make any sense. Like,
Yeah.
you're telling someone they can.
This is exactly what I'm afraid of will happen in crypto. Like I started my first company in 1993, and we built like rudimentary websites back then. It was like, but the first thing I ever learned about the internet was how to code HTML, right? And we did websites for organizations, and we were the first internet service provider in Taiwan, long before the government offered like modem access. You know, you don't remember that, you're too young that, but there used to be a time when you dialed a number and then you had to beep, 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 and then you would connect to the internet.
Oh man, I don't think I was even born then yet.
No, just rub it in, rub it in, rub it in.
Well, yeah, no,
yeah,
I think
and so at that time, like everyone had wonderful, brilliant ideas. Let's make a website to sell diapers. And suddenly there were like 100 websites selling diapers and 100 selling dog food. And now everyone buys the shit on internet, on Amazon, right?
Yeah.
I'm afraid that something similar will happen in crypto. I enjoy the blockchain. Like, I don't know if you know what the block wars were.
No, I haven't heard of that.
No, the block wars were about Bitcoin. It's like, it doesn't matter. There's a book about it. Read the book.
Okay.
But right now we are in the blockchain wars, right? People are fighting about layer 1, layer 2, and this one has lower fees. All of these blockchains that have occupied our minds for the last year have only one selling point, right? And they are cheaper and faster and scalable. If you read the prospectus for any of these projects, the only thing that's left is, we are faster, we are cheaper than Ethereum, and we are infinitely scalable, right? So faster, Ethereum can easily get faster, right? Cheaper, they'll solve the gas fee problems. I mean, Buterin may be annoying sometimes, but he's not an idiot. He's a very, very bright mind. And if he wants to solve the gas fee problems, he will. So that's not a problem. And scalability isn't really a problem. From a technical point of view, scalability is not a problem to overcome. Right? But that would lead us too far. So all of these, like what do we have, Solana and all the Algorand and stuff, they're all very, very good projects. But they probably will all die a slow death as blockchain evolves, and none of them will be an Ethereum killer, and none of them will be the next Ethereum, and no one will flip anybody else. Like, that's the most ridiculous term in crypto ever. Is A going to flip B? I mean, nobody has any idea what it means, right?
Yeah, for sure.
Even if it's market cap, it doesn't make any sense.
No, it doesn't.
Even if it means number of nodes or number of users, flipping doesn't make any sense. Right? It's a complete nonsensical concept. And all of these blockchains, they're just gonna die away because they're just another incarnation of the same type of blockchain. What we're really looking at is a completely new, feelers, fast, and a blockchain where scale isn't even an issue from the onset. We're going to meet, like, one of them is Constellation, right? DAG, and anything that is technically understandable right now is probably not going to be around in 5 to 10 years. That's how blockchain works. There's so much potential for innovation. And we haven't even begun to explore the full potential of blockchain technology. We are still talking about the initial invention of the blockchain. We're still talking about 256, SHA-256 and Merkle trees and stuff. That is just one idea, right? That's not
definitely.
that's not the holy grail. That's like saying, let's have an ARPANET and ARPANET will be the future of the internet. No, it isn't. It wasn't. We ended up with an internet that was dominated by huge companies like Google and Apple and Facebook, and they will die because they have all the wrong approach and they don't have all the answers. We have destructive innovation. It's built into the whole system of technological progress. And that means that none of these technologies that we now think are the ultimate solution to anything will survive for very long. The next big frontier, now we have some of the most ignored and most valuable tokens that are now lingering in total obscurity are, for example, quantum computing proof blockchains. Because the next big threat is going to come from huge innovations in physics. When we know how to do quantum computing error-free and sustainable and energy efficient, then the entire system of our current silicon-based traditional computing is going to break down, and with it, so will blockchain. This leads us too far into the future. What I'm trying to say with this is that there's no point in having this strong belief in one single technological solution, because the one thing you can be sure is that sooner or later it will be replaced by something else. And the speed at which this replacing happens is just going to accelerate.
Yeah, definitely.
There's so much programming, there's so much creative stuff going on in technology. It's unbelievable. The guy, I write a weekly newsletter for institutions on Wall Street, and it takes so much of my time every week just to try and keep up with stuff.
Yeah,
the last thing I want to answer. Yeah.
Sorry. I was just saying, with information just moving so fast now, and just like technologically, like exponentially evolving, it's like the world's just going to continue to change faster and faster, pretty much.
Yeah, and this is we are moving at the speed of computing innovations. And if we believe, I'm totally convinced by the Bitcoin argument, right? You have a limited supply, you have massive adoption. So I'm completely convinced that Bitcoin is going to reach this price estimates that people give out. And the most boring thing is chartists telling me that in the next 5 days the price of Bitcoin is going to retrace. Be careful. I think day trading is the most. No, I'm not going to offend anyone listening. It's that's so pointless. It's so fucking pointless to day trade stuff. I'm happy for you if you can make millions, but I made them just sitting on my deck chair. Lucky. I'm lucky that way. I'm sorry. I apologize.
No, that's cool. It's like that's another beauty of this space, right? Like there's traders, but there's also like content creators.
Yeah. I'm working with a very, very smart team now from Slovenia. They're working on an automated system for day traders, because like the basic premise is we can't keep up with all the trading signals we get, and we have all these bots in the system that are, as soon as we place a trade, the bot responds and executes the trade in a way that takes much of the profit that we should get from the trade. So it's like human versus robot, human versus bot fights on the trading floor.
Yeah, and humans aren't going to win that.
Humans are not going to win that. Right?
Yeah, like
I mean, most people haven't even realized that half of Wall Street is automated bot trading, right?
Oh, I'm not surprised. Like, it just makes sense, right? Like, would you rather have a computer just spit all the answers out for you in a second, or spend all the hours doing the math, reading all the documents?
You know, and all these tech people, what do they call them, the quants and whatever. It's a win-win situation for any traditional trader, because if the trade goes right and you make millions, then it's you being smart, having employed the automated trading system. And if the trade goes wrong, then you can just blame the machine. So traders love it.
That's true.
You can't go, if everybody else does the same thing, then you can't go wrong. You can't get fired for copying your neighbor's trade.
That's true, yeah.
On Wall Street.
You can't blame insider trading anymore either, right?
Yeah. Had a whole insider trading discussion. Oh, that would lead us nowhere. And that,
big mess.
That is the big fear about crypto also.
Yeah, because everything's going to be transparent, right?
I'm now, so this Wall Street people, I'm going to make a move in my career towards Wall Street, because there is such a demand for people who understand crypto. And I don't know anything about trading on Wall Street. I mean, not that much, but they hired me to shed a light on the crypto problems of institutional investors. And they're enormous. You know, we have concepts in trading that are completely alien to the crypto space. One of them, for example, is execution certainty. If you, as a private trader, you execute a trade and, you know, the smart contract just doesn't execute and it failed. Okay, then you do it again, right? So nothing lost. If you're a professional trader who depends on the execution of a huge trade at a specific price within a specific time frame, then you need what is called execution certainty. And some trading systems for Wall Street and New York Stock Exchange, they can guarantee that, right? This is a very mature system. You can be 100% sure that what you put in will be executed at that price at that time. It, roughly speaking, right? It's not 100%, but in crypto you can't, because do you work with a centralized exchange and half of the tokens you want to use are not there? Do you want to work with a decentralized exchange? Who is responsible? Where is it? Who is the legal entity behind it? Who do you hold accountable if your $100 million trade goes wrong, right? So for institutions to get into crypto, it's like having all the knowledge in the world about trading and applying it to a space that you know nothing about.
Yeah, for sure.
And the only thing that they're starting to grasp is Bitcoin. None of them has even begun to solve the problem of how to trade unlisted tokens or minor tokens. If you buy 100 tokens of some unknown but very promising project, right? For you and me being on Uniswap, that's no problem. But if you have no liquidity, if you're a trader and you want to do a product that is sold to thousands of customers, you need liquidity. And the liquidity problem is the real crux of the matter, right? If you can provide liquidity across huge platforms, a huge number of platforms, then this is a win-win situation for an institutional trader.
For sure, yeah. And
they need liquidity, right? And most tokens on most exchanges, they're just plain dry. You know, there's nothing there. You'd be lucky to have your 100 tokens bought by the end of the day.
Yeah, and I think the whole liquidity thing will come eventually, just like as this market continues to like slowly develop over time.
There are a few projects, like, I don't know, Ribbon Finance. I'm following a few of these liquidity solutions. They're good. I mean, they're a start, but they are not yet ready for prime time.
No, definitely not. Like, this space is still, yes, it's been 10 years, but 10 years isn't enough for a technology to fully develop, ready for mass adoption yet. And we
have been trading shares. even before Wall Street, we've been trading shares for hundreds of years. We know what a share in a company means, and all the trading aspect has matured over centuries. And crypto is 10 years old, as you say. So it's no wonder we are basically in the dark.
Yeah, like it's going to take time. It's not just all going to happen overnight, like how some people are expecting it.
No, absolutely not.
Yeah, but while we're on that topic, do you have any, I don't want you, I guess it probably wouldn't be best to have you shilling your bags on here, but just any projects you see promise in that you think, let's not say future proof, but have a brighter future, just either maybe because they're regulated or because of their technology that would, I guess, have a better chance at flourishing in this space, whether it's towards retail or towards enterprises or maybe even governments?
Well, there are a few things that the aspects that interest me at this point, also in a professional capacity, are simply the future of blockchain as a whole. It's like, what is the next step? How do we go? Where do we go from here? As a more of a concept idea, and things I like in that space are innovations like Saito and Constellation, and the whole discussion about we have so many blockchains, but we have to make them work together.
Interoperability, right?
The interoperability issue that has been largely been solved by DLT and by Quant is definitely, I mean, it's not going to go away overnight. It's a really, really good project, a solid company.
Yeah, I mean,
so beyond most people's comprehension.
Yeah, I'll be transparent. Like, Quant is probably my favorite project in this whole space, just because of, not just because of what they're doing, but because their team's taking such a professional approach to it. It doesn't feel like your regular crypto project at all, even.
Yeah. Which is in itself an ethical or philosophical dilemma, right? Because if 100%. You're in it, if you are in crypto for the resistance against the state and traditional finance and for your ideals, right? For your anarchic ideals, then Quant is the last thing you want to own.
For sure, yeah.
Because it's more or less the TradFi sanctioned play on crypto.
Well, the way I look at it is more, I guess I don't really see Quant as just siding towards TradFi, but more it's bridging our world's legacy systems into like this whole, not even just like decentralized finance and stuff, but just the innovations of blockchain and distributed ledgers.
Yes. It is, however, ultimately, maybe this is leading too far into the future and really not relevant for the current discussion or your personal fortunes for the next 10 years, but it's probably ultimately destined to become irrelevant in the long run, because we need it. We need the interoperability because we have so many different systems, right? So
that's true. Yeah,
it's there for a reason.
Yeah, it's providing a solution.
That reason itself may disappear, right?
That's true.
If you come up with a solution like Constellation, for example, then you'll end up in a space where you don't even, in the long run, where you don't even need the interoperability.
That's a fair point. Yeah, and do you mind me asking your thoughts on Constellation?
I'm honestly worried about the project because it's so good and it's so mind-bogglingly hard to understand that it might just be one of these projects that nobody buys in the short run, and because people don't get it, right? It took me like weeks and months of study to really say, okay, I'm gonna come out and say, yes, I want this guy on my investor call, and I want to talk to my people on Wall Street about Constellation. And then to go to our trading desk and our Wall Street conferences there and say, okay, I've got this guy, his name is Ben, and this is Constellation, and this is what they do, and to just stare into 50 blank faces and say, what did he just say? It's a challenge.
Yeah, no, like to really understand Constellation, you've got to understand like most the other aspects in crypto to like really then jump into Constellation's DAG and understand why their solutions are needed.
It's the same with Cardano, right? Cardano is such a wonderful project and such an idealistic endeavor to change the world and solve like basic problems of humanity and staking and giving people a voice. And I mean, most of my Cardano, when I left Cardano, I just staked all of my ADA into the Alpine pool that protects the Alps in Switzerland and Austria because they're being destroyed by tourists and stuff. So for me, this is the only reason there is to do something with a purpose, right? And then people fret about, is ADA going up, or has the, I don't know, the price action is weird and has it met resistance or support or whatever. And so all these crypto projects are in a way idealistic, very geeky, all with a different background that is just way out, sorry if this sounds arrogant, but way out of reach of the intellectual capacity of your average trader. It's much easier to believe in some sort of dog, right? Whether it's a Shiba dog or an Elon Musk dog or whatever, I mean, these things are marketable.
Definitely, yeah. Masses. Like people relate much more to a dog than a distributed ledger that's working to solve some economic issues.
What's a hypergraph? I don't need a hypergraph. I need a dog or a mongoose or whatever, right?
No, they're on monkeys now.
No, it's a mongoose. That was a thing with some American senator.
No, mongoose coin. Yeah, Brad Sherman said that. Yeah, during that hearing.
Yeah, I loved it. I love the idea of a mongoose coin. I didn't even know what a mongoose looks like.
I didn't either. I had to look it up.
It was such a Luddite reaction. What would be next? There would be a mongoose coin. But now it's sad. And then at the same time, I read this huge research paper on Shiba and what they're trying to do, and the people behind it, they aren't idiots. It's, they may have gotten into the space as a joke or a fun project, but there may be some real utility to it. And then you end up in a situation where you've got a really useful coin, which Shiba might be for metaverse transactions, right? If they manage to pull it off. And then you have like millions of Shiba followers, hating you on crypto Twitter, saying, I told you so, I told you Shiba Inu was the future.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, they're like, I'll be honest, I'm not a big fan of meme coins overall because I feel like they take the legitimacy away from the space, but at the same time,
very much,
I can't deny the fact that those dog coins have an insanely massive network effect potential, not just from Elon Musk, but the fact that I'm sure you remember pets.com from the .com boom, right?
Yeah, of course.
Like, yeah, it just really draws in that like potential for adoption just because everyone can relate to a dog, right?
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people can't really relate to, let's say, blockchain interoperability or like an infinitely scalable network. Yeah. Hypergraph.
The hypergraph sounds like something out of Star Wars or what? No, Star Trek. I mean Star Trek. Let's go to hypergraph 3. Yeah, this is exactly the problem. But this has always been the problem of investing. That different people are in for different reasons, right?
For sure.
And some people take pleasure in drawing lines and then seeing them invalidated or validated, and that makes them happy, right? And other people, I would probably die if you made me a technical analyst. I would just wither away with boredom.
Yeah, I mean, as I said before, there's room for everyone in this space, no matter what you can provide.
Yes. Yeah,
like,
and that that variety and that it's so variegated and so difficult in some aspects that the press, which already in the age of the internet, I mean, most journalists are, I mean, by and large, are uneducated idiots, right? Who got a job at the local rag and then are expected to write about the future of a blockchain, right?
Yeah, like they wouldn't know anything about it. They just probably find whatever's on Google.
Exactly, they Google their stuff. Yeah. There was a report in one of Switzerland's most respected dailies, and there were like whole passages from that you could Google and find on the internet. Right? It's shameful, but that's where we are, and it's only going to get worse because we live in a world that has become so infused with information and technology that the average human being can't process it, right? Definitely, 200 years ago, going to the doctor was a choice between 10 different herbs and some unction, have some unction, right? And put the unction on your wound, and then you either die or you survive.
Yeah.
Now going to the doctor means like clinical trials and studies and blind studies and this and that and expert panels on the efficacy of the DNA treatment or the protein replacement, whatever treatment. It's difficult for most people to even understand the basic medicines they're taking.
Yeah, I mean,
I had this argument with my gran, and they switched. Like one of her meds that she has to take for her gout. It's a yellow color. It's exactly the same thing. Now, the effective ingredient in the medication is exactly the same. It's just made by a different company, and it's now yellow,
right?
Yeah, a white pill. And my granny keeps saying, "Yeah, but the white one that was so much better. I mean, I can feel the difference." And that's what we are with the blockchain. I mean, people build fan clubs and armies around projects because they believe in the coin. There's just in investing. If you are in it for investing, there's no room for emotions and belief.
Exactly.
Nobody has ever believed in anything has made any money, right?
Yeah, the whole tribalism thing is definitely like one of the bigger problems in crypto that I guess isn't really talked about because it doesn't exactly affect price too much in a sense.
It fits perfectly into this online society that we have created, right? This celebrity status, this Instagram culture that we built, where people are just conditioned to follow stuff that is popular and gives you a sense of community.
Definitely,
we have in a way, like, I mean, we've mostly, especially in the West, we have mostly lost religion, right? We have lost the belief in religion. We have lost the social network that religion gave people, where just a firm belief in Jesus and your faith just gave you some sense of belonging. So now we need to belong to somewhere else. So we are part of the Safe Moon Army or the whatever, the Ripplers, or I can't keep up with all the names of there.
Yeah, no, that makes perfect sense. Like some of these cults are like religions.
And especially in the times of COVID, I mean, everybody's sitting at home, locked up, not being able to have the social life they want. Most young people don't even do the outdoorsy pursuits of yesterday, and most of them are just not educated enough to take pleasure in long evenings of poetry. Or smoking cigarettes in a shady French cafe, right? Like we did in the 60s. They are on their computers, they're gaming, they're glued to their screens for so many hours. And their entire lives are dominated by this virtual internet presence. So what's missing is the human contact, and we have started to replace human contact with virtual. It's only going to get worse in the metaverse, right?
Oh no, absolutely. This is just going to continue growing, especially with like, if you see the evolution of video games, not just like in revenue, but just like in participants, it's just going to keep growing because there's going to be more kids being born, and those kids' parents grew up around video games too.
Yeah. I went to dinner in Vienna a couple of days ago, and the first thing a girlfriend of mine, she asked me, that's such a wonderful restaurant. Did you take any pictures? I said, no, I enjoyed the evening there. I didn't have my phone out and took a picture of every dish. And then she said to me, well, then it didn't happen. I mean, I know she was joking flippantly, but that's exactly.
Yeah, no, that's a thing now.
If it's not on Instagram, it just didn't happen, right?
Yeah, it's ridiculous. We live in a society nowadays where we're so judged by what we put online, which totally, I guess, describes your image as a person.
Yeah, I mean, one of the biggest eye-openers for me was I used to have this Twitter account with I put a picture of, not of my current yacht, because I don't want people to know where it is and, attack it with gas bombs, but I put a picture of a yacht that I would like to buy in the future. So like half of Twitter space followed me because I must be such a successful investor because I can afford this boat. It's not my boat, it's the boat I want to buy. And the other half blamed me for being an arrogant asshole, pretending to live on a boat, which I actually did for many, many years.
How was that?
No, I just like boats, that's all.
No, I mean, like, how's living on a boat?
Well, it's okay. It's a big boat. It has a living room, a dining room, a kitchen. It's got everything.
Okay, yeah.
I just didn't. When I left Asia, I was like kind of lost. I couldn't go home because I don't get along with my father, and I didn't know where to go, which country. I didn't know what to do with my career and life. And I had all these consulting contracts where it really doesn't matter anymore where I am. Right? It didn't even matter less before that.
Yeah.
And everything. I mean, I know so many people who are working in companies that are so decentralized. I mean, it's amazing. Most of the innovative companies in the space now, they only exist
like online, right? Yeah.
Like this is something that just wasn't possible like 20 years ago. So there's a Taiwanese company. I mean, it's founded by Taiwanese money. And it's based in Taiwan and America and Luxembourg and I got some mates that we work at Unity Network together. It's a DeFi platform, and the owner is Norwegian. The CEO is Norwegian. It's registered in Estonia and Malta, and the marketing people are in Netherlands, and I'm in Austria, and then our content providers are all in America. And and then the people who token, they're like in Asia, and none of us have ever. I mean, I've met the boss and the people in Europe, but I've never had the entire team of the company together in one room, and yet we've been successfully working together for years.
Yeah, and you guys probably never seen each other outside of a screen, I'm guessing, right?
No, I just actually last weekend I was out in Vienna with Charles, the CEO of Unity Network.
Oh shit! Okay.
And it was, and the funniest thing about it was that, I mean, we just greeted each other as if nothing had changed. It felt like
you guys were already friends, right? Yeah.
We were already friends, and I mean, I just walked up to him and greeted him, and I said, "Nice to see you again," as if all of our meetings before that had been equally in. What do you call it? IRL, right?
In real life, yeah. No, but I think that's the whole beauty of the evolution of technology, and the metaverse is just gonna make that, like, enhance that even more. How we can just build anything with anyone around the world now.
I'm so looking forward to the metaverse. What we have seen so far of the metaverse is ridiculously ugly and stupid and immature.
Yeah,
and yet it can be hyped into $1 million companies. If you look at this Axie Infinity, it's atrocious. It's like sand and decentralized. The graphics it's like fucking Pac-Man. It's so last year, right?
Yeah, I really think the whole metaverse thing in the moment, like, it's gonna go through a big boom just because like it's such a hype thing at the moment to like where you're transported in an alternate reality. But once everyone realizes it's like 8-bit pixels, I think it's gonna have like a massive correction, and then that's when the
Have you
companies.
seen?
Sorry.
Have you seen what Rob Grin does with Everdome? Have you heard?
Yeah,
of that?
yeah. I'm a big fan of Rob Grin.
Fucking hell. The
That like
graphics are amazing. That just blew me away when I saw that.
yeah, like that's one of the more promising metaverse projects I can see, and the whole like ethos of MetaHero I really like, just because they're putting these things, those I guess scanners out there physically, so like communities from MetaHero will all come out to those physical locations and then scan their stuff, and that's a chance for people in that community to meet and greet with each other pretty much too.
Yeah, I'll just, I don't know. I'm 50. I'm just gonna choose a different. I'm gonna be Ryan Reynolds for the rest of my life.
You're 50? My guess would have been like 37. You still look good, man.
Thank you. You took 13 years away. Well, it's the good food in Asia, right?
It's the good food of Asia. Yeah.
It's the good food of Asia. I miss Taiwan so much. Oh god. I'm stuck between goulash and Wiener Schnitzel here.
Is that just because of the travel ban happening, or what's up?
No, I have to stay with my mom for a while because of family reasons, and she's getting old, and she just needs some attention and care. So I moved for a while. I moved back to the countryside.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense.
Boondocks.
That's a really good thing of you to do, though.
I think I learned, this is one thing I learned in Asia, right? That we in the West, we're just such assholes. We just leave our parents in elderly homes and elderly care. And
it's a common Western thing, yeah.
Yeah. I learned to this. I mean, sometimes it's deference, sometimes it's just traditions, but it is a kind of respect and gratefulness to your elders. My mom brought me up. She gave up the best years of her life to be my mother. The least I can do is be there in the final years of her life and make her life easy and help her with stuff.
No, exactly.
I could shove her off in the most expensive retirement home in Austria, but it's not. I don't know, it's just not who I am.
Yeah, like money isn't always
having a great
everything.
time, an organized closet, and excellent food, and so. I moved back in with mom. I didn't make it in crypto, so I moved back in with mom.
Yeah, but I mean, also you just got to do what you got to do, right?
Right. And I'm enjoying it because it doesn't. That's the beauty. People always ask me like, "What did crypto do for you?" And it's not about the money. It's not about the technical discussions and the geeky side. I have a very geeky side, and I enjoy it. And I enjoy the technology and the learning, but ultimately what crypto gave me is freedom.
Yeah, that's very true.
I have my Calendly, and people make appointments with me all week long, and I jump on calls here and there, but ultimately I decide where I go, when I get up, when I sleep, what I do, who I associate with. I don't have to go to a boring office. I don't have office politics or and I live in a house like right next to the train station here. Like every morning from 6:30 on, I see these poor slobs like on their way to the train, and in the cold. It's fucking cold here in winter, right? It's like Americans think blizzard in Connecticut or something. And it's like -5 degrees, and they're walking up to the platform and taking the train to the next city, commuting for like 45 minutes, and I'm there with my Apple iPhone controlled mug, which it's a really cool thing.
Is that a thing?
Oh god, it's called Ember, and it just keeps your coffee at exactly the right temperature, and you can control it. This is not a commercial plug, right? I'm just really amazed. It keeps your coffee warm at exactly the temperature that you set on your iPhone.
You sure you're not sponsored by Apple?
No, I am not sponsored by Apple. No. I bought it, and the first thing my mom said was, "No, this is so unnecessary." And like 2 days later, she was, you think it supports 2 mugs? Can you order me one?
How much was it though? That's the real question.
Oh, I don't know. I can't remember price. It was something like 90 euros, something 100. I think it's $100 mug.
$100? Okay.
But it's also nice. It's very nicely designed, and it's big. It's a big, nice coffee mug, and you just set it at the temperature, and it keeps. Because I jump on a call, and I'm like busy talking for an hour, and normally my coffee would get cold, and right now it stays warm, and so I have solved my most important first world problem. They have all kinds of things to plug in. I'm not a fan of the smart home very much, because I think that if things go wrong, then if I lose my phone, then I can't even get in the door. But the self-heating coffee mug is like the pinnacle of luxury for me.
It's a fair point, yeah. What's next? Smart forks? They feed you now.
Oh,
I bet you that's going to come out in the next 20 years.
There is one. No, there's a serious project. It's a fork for people with palsy and is it Alzheimer's? I don't know, where they get jittery at old age.
Alzheimer's is the one where you start forgetting things.
No, Alzheimer's forgetting. I forgot what it is. They get shaky, like shaky hand movements, and they have trouble.
Trouble moving
to their mouth. And it's a stabilizing fork. Right, you can hold it with a jittery hand, but the fork or the spoon itself stays stable. And that was actually invented by a Taiwanese guy. I used to know him. When I was in Taiwan.
That's actually a really cool concept.
I love this kind of technology when it solves a real problem that allows people to become independent again. Right?
Yeah, definitely.
It showed me so much. 2 years ago, I got food poisoning. I was sick, and I lost the use of my legs for like 6 months. I was terrified that I would be paralyzed forever. And it turned out to be
food poisoning temporarily paralyzed you?
Yes.
I didn't know that was possible. I thought you just had to shit for a couple of days.
No. It caused the Clostridium difficile infection. So too much detail here, but it's like a bacterium that attacked every organ in my body, and I lost nerve feelings in large part of my leg for a while, and I couldn't walk. I was in a wheelchair.
That's terrible. I'm glad you're doing better now.
It's all gone. But be careful with the shabu shabu, right? I'm sure it was from a shabu shabu, from the Japanese beef, not fully boiled.
Yeah, I gotta watch out for that. I'm a big Japanese food fan.
Oh God, yes. Oh, that brings us back to food. First thing I'm gonna do when it gets warm, when they open the borders again, I am back in Taiwan.
Back in
Taiwan? Some really good food. Yes, it's like the best food in the world.
What were some of your favorite dishes there?
Oh God, like everything. From a simple taupan in the morning to, it's such a down to earth food culture, and it's all home cooking wherever you go. It's not this elaborate. Like Chinese imperial cuisine or like sophisticated Shanghai cuisine.
Yeah, no, it's pretty
diversified. It's really down to earth, and it's not as oily as Hong Kong and Guangzhou.
Yeah,
where everything is too sweet and too oily, and it's not Sichuan where everything is too spicy.
Yeah,
right. No, so it's like perfect mix of all the beauties of Chinese food.
I totally feel that. I went to Taiwan for a couple weeks back, like a couple years ago, and it's quite a different environment from what it was like in Hong Kong.
Oh, yes. I used to work in Hong Kong for a while, and I always look forward to go back on like every weekend I was on a plane. I was back on Cathay Pacific, back home to Taiwan. Life in Hong Kong you have to be used to it from childhood because it's so hectic and so busy.
Yeah, I think, you know where Kowloon in Hong Kong is, right?
Is the Pope Catholic?
Yeah, the most.
Of course, I know why.
Yeah, I don't know why I asked that. The most densely populated place on Earth.
Yeah, dude. I used to work for an interior designer in Hong Kong who had a love for the history of Kowloon, and he showed me some really rare prints of pictures Have you ever heard of Kowloon City, the walled city of Kowloon?
Yeah, I have.
Oh my God, that's a real piece of history. Like,
Oh yeah,
this walled off working class, like, ghetto for the poorest of the poor there. It was terrible.
yeah. It's
And
like
the
another.
Brits and the rich merchants and Brits were all on Hong Kong Island, right?
Yeah, yeah. Hong Kong's had a pretty interesting history to it.
Oh, I love it. It's amazing. It's such
Yeah.
a shame that it's gone, but it's understandable. I mean, it was a contract after all. I
True.
mean, we kind of forced China into selling it
Yeah.
to the British, right? So
Yeah.
well, anyway, that would lead us. I think we started with crypto and Bitcoin, and now we're in the history of Hong Kong.
Yeah, we're talking about history of Hong Kong, talking about food. We're covering everything. But we have been going a bit over an hour now. Are there some closing points you want to just talk about, like crypto-wise, before we call it?
Well, I'm gonna take this opportunity just to bring home the point that, in a nutshell, I'm gonna fill a position at the nexus between Wall Street finance and crypto.
So you want to be the bridge that bridges those two together, hey?
I don't want to be the bridge of anything. But I'm going to be working in this space, and I see a lot of problems there in terms of adoption, of marketability, of how to save and improve the reputation of crypto, how to separate the good crypto from the bad crypto, and how to also, especially how to educate traditional sophisticated investors in crypto and blockchain, right? For most of them, it's still all about Bitcoin.
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
And
it's
Bitcoin
still
is not
alien
the whole
language.
picture. Yeah. So I don't know. People can find me. I'm on Twitter. I'm everywhere.
Yeah, do you want to
Reach
just
out to
plug in your where people can find you real quick?
Yeah, it's just on Twitter. M and my last name Hiesboeck.
Yeah, and I'll be sure to link that down in the description for everyone to check out.
Yeah.
Yeah. But Martin, it was
Excellent.
awesome talking with you, man.
Thank you. I enjoyed it. I talked a bit too much. I'm sorry.
It's all good. You had a lot of good points to bring in. But yeah, that's pretty much all we've got for you guys today. Thanks again for tuning in, and we'll catch you next time. Peace.
Thank you. Peace out.